many people I talk to and who I talk with, they want to get rid of anxiety and they want to get rid of it completely. So, but they want to have absolutely no anxiety. But you know what? The only people that I know of that don't have any anxiety whatsoever are either dead people or psychopaths. So I really don't want you to fall into either one of those categories. So what are we to do? Let's talk about it. I'm Andrea Fowler, and this is Upgrade Your Life with AF Mind Hack. Here we go. So now, since none of us are choosing to be either one of those categories, what are we to do? We shouldn't be trying to get rid of anxiety because anxiety is not an illness. It is one of our emotional responses, and all of our emotional responses, they have a purpose. They're designed to bring us to things that are good and away from those things that are bad or a threat. We feel scared about danger, like bear attacks and tsunamis and such. We feel excited about pleasure and anxious about upcoming challenges in the future that we need to focus on. Anxiety is more about focus. If we can learn to experience the physical sensations of anxiety and determine that that is for our focus. Example, a person is nervous about taking a test. So maybe by changing the butterflies that we get from taking that test to blocking us from the information, maybe we can imagine those butterflies are flying in that information that we really like to know when we're taking that test. So if we didn't feel anxiety, we would not be able to feel any concern about any of the life consequences of ours or anyone else's actions, and which is the definition of a sociopath. So the real aim is not to get rid of anxiety. The aim is to control it, because our attempts to get rid of the anxiety completely is sometimes what's causing all those problems. We're all told anxiety is bad anytime we feel it. Think then we have a disorder. Now remember what I've said before about disorders. Disorder is not something that is bad. It simply means confused. And as a result, we start to get anxious about being anxious. And we don't want that, right? Right. Because that's kind of a vicious cycle, and which turns us to feeling more anxious and to amplify those high levels of anxiety that are the parts that are really causing the problem. When we feel anxiety to an appropriate level for challenges that we're facing, then we feel in control. And it is only when the level becomes inappropriate that we feel out of control. And that's when the problems start. So now that we have changed the question from how to get rid of anxiety completely to how can we control our anxiety, now there are a ton of ways that we can control anxiety. But let's talk about a few. The first one and the most popular method of controlling anxiety is, of course, medication. Now, I know there is no doubt that medication or drugs will alter your emotional responses, which can seem to help alleviate the symptoms of anxiety. Just imagine, as you're a teenager drinking. A lot of people drink so that they don't have to feel anxious in a social situation. They feel relaxed and at ease. But if you're not drinking, those symptoms come right back, right? So is the answer to continue drinking or maybe deal with the anxiety? Your thought. We can try to control our emotions using drugs and medication. It's not really controlling your emotions. We also have no control over the side effects, hang over anyone that we may experience. Medication is just another way to be out of control because the mood altering drugs are only going to work as long as you're on the drugs. And for many, they will need to up the dosage to find the relief that they're wanting. And as soon as you want to come off these drugs, you're back to square one. And you're still trying to deal with what caused the anxiety in the first place. So, are the pills, the medication, the drugs, the alcohol a good option for controlling your emotional responses? Be it anxiety, depression, whatever that is, or anything else? I'll leave that one up to you. So, number two, exercise. I love exercise. And many people say that this is a fantastic way of dealing with high levels of anxiety. And the reason for this is when we get anxious to that extreme degree, it's like hitting our panic button, you know, sending off the alarm bells to all of our body, the fight or flight mode. So we increase our adrenaline, and sometimes we can find ourselves shaking, our heart palpitations, and all these things because the purpose of the adrenaline is to get us moving away from the danger or towards the pleasure that we want to get to. So exercise can be that is something that we can do with all that adrenaline. And if we find the right form of exercise that we really enjoy, this can give us a reprieve, some relief from those thoughts causing the high levels of anxiety. So while exercise doesn't necessarily solve the problem, doesn't necessarily stop your mind from creating that high anxiety response, it does give you some relief from it. Something else that exercise can do for us is to boost your self esteem, which in turn can help us to think of ourselves in a more positive manner. Because if we feel better about ourselves, we feel better prepared and better equipped to handle those future things that life might throw at us. Now, number three is meditation and mindfulness. Love this one as well. Another popular way of dealing with anxiety is meditation. So, what this does is it helps our mind to focus on here and now rather than what is happening or what could possibly happen in the future. This calms our mind and stops all that chatter for a moment, serving as relief from those high levels of anxiety. And if you can get really good at it, we can even train our mind to not only start doing the pattern we want, but stop doing that constant chatter that's vying for our attention, that's increasing our anxiety. Now, mindfulness is something that most people agree is you pretty much suck at it when you start. You just do. But if you continue doing it, you're pretty bad at it. But once you practice at it, you will get better and better at it. So, as it is true with many other things that we might regard as a solution for anxiety, the more we engage with it, the better we get at it, and the more effective it will be to give you some relief. Now, however, the therapeutic approach, which I believe is the better approach, there are literally hundreds of different types of therapy that you could get engaged with to help with your levels of anxiety, like CBT, counseling, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, and control therapy. There's so many of them out there. Different methods will resonate with different people. What works for one won't work for the other. And what had no effect whatsoever on somebody will be the therapy that makes the biggest, huge difference for someone else. So keep trying. The way in which therapy approaches that is different from all the other methods of relieving anxiety or gaining control over your anxiety, this is the only one that is going to deal with that underlying issue or the cause of the anxiety. We need to understand that you are feeling high levels of anxiety because of something or for a reason. Something happened to you that you learned something in that process that created that high level of anxiety. So, any therapeutic approach will attempt to not just give you an understanding of how this started, but also an understanding of why it doesn't have to continue. That's the most important. And while the chemical modifications last for only a short time, for long lasting permanent changes, this will require work, be it therapy or trying new experiences or learning new things with new repetitions to rewire your brain. I believe that most people do not want therapy because they have an idea that it means something is wrong with them and that someone will be digging up everything that has happened in their past. Because telling someone you don't know your story and reliving all those negative feelings and emotion is hard. But a good direct therapy will not require this. Therapy is not about digging up all the old stuff. It is about creating a strategy that your mind can adopt moving forward in your life. So, no matter what therapy you might choose, it's an essential part of the process getting to the other side of that high anxiety, getting control of your anxiety to the point where you are not consistently eliciting countermeasures all the time against your high anxiety. This involves you doing work, doing the therapy to change or upgrade the way your mind is responding to the things. While other things we listed might combat those high levels or distract you from them, some form of change work, some form of therapy is the only way you are going to get your mind to change or upgrade, to stop doing that kind of high anxiety and bringing it back to where it needs to be. If I had to put my finger on one thing, the one thing that changes it for people to the point where they are on the other side of the old response and not having it anymore, living upon and acting upon their new upgraded way, it would be education. It would be understanding why your mind has created this response or this pattern of behavior. This is why I do these videos, because I want people to know that there is another way. And by understanding why we are doing something and breaking it down to its simplest form so that we are not afraid of it anymore and we're able to talk about it, understand it, and change it to what we would like better. Any of our countermeasures or techniques immediately come unnecessary. Now, you can still do the exercise, you can still do your meditations because it still feels good. But when we get control of this to the root of the issue, so that this high anxiety response is no longer happening anymore, and that should be our focus on the long run in the work that we are doing when dealing with our anxiety, not to manage it, but to change it and to upgrade it for good. I'm Andrea Fowler, AF Mind Hack. I am excited. Let's upgrade your life. If you have any questions or have any comments, or if maybe you would like to have that one-on-one visit with me, you can have a free consult. We can talk about this and see where you're at. I'm so excited. Let's get you upgraded today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll put links below. Remember to subscribe, hit the like, comment, whatever you need to do. But have a great day. Thanks so much for watching.